Hello and welcome to All 32. My name is Arabia, and here we talk all things football. It's Thursday, so we in them trenches with Coach George. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing absolutely super fantastic, and I'm happy to be here again with you, despite the other bone that I have to pick with you.
What is your problem now? What is up? You always got something to say. What's up? What's your attitude about today?
We're not going to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but you know you wrong. You know you wrong because you've been rolling around here on these internets, fronting like you actually part of the culture when you actually not.
Whatever, because I already have people thinking that I'm Dominican and that I shouldn't say nigga, but I'm not. I'm black. My mother's black. My daddy's black.
But like after what I heard yesterday, like you got me questioning a couple things. But again, I feel like everybody deserves an equal opportunity to explain themselves. And off air, you and I had a conversation. You did kind of tell me where the lapse was. It's not totally your fault. But again, because I did say you saw roots, I'm giving you a day pass. You get a day pass. If anybody out there needs to know what a day pass is, that gets you through the day. But if you want to come back, that means you got some homework to do.
Take the whole pass. Take my black card. I never had to pull it out. You know why? Because I'm black. I look black.
You haven't been
I am
questioned.
black.
You haven't been questioned by the right folks. You haven't been questioned by the right folks.
No one would need to. The diaspora is so large that just because I haven't seen 8 movies, maybe 12.
But it's the 12 movies, Arabia.
When would I have come home and be like, Mommy, can we please put on Belly?
Again, right? Listen, I don't know your parents. I don't know your mom like that. So I can't really say it's completely her fault. However, you went to school. Like you went to school. So now I'm questioning, where'd you go to school? Like who was your friend? like what did y'all talk about in gym class? I mean, it wasn't what we talked about in gym class.
Mind you, when I did go to high school, these movies weren't out. Like, I'm of the younger variety, so when we did go to school and talked about movies, those movies was our parents' movies. It wasn't our movies. But you know what? I'm gonna let y'all have it. I will say this though: when I go back and watch these classics, they better be the best movies I've ever seen in my life. The way that people they better be the best movies I've ever seen in my life. I better get so many lessons and entertainment from it. If not, I'm gonna have an issue.
All right, look, whatever.
Whatever then.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, so let's get into our first topic: trench talk with Coach George. Oh wait, no. Okay, well I'm gonna cut that.
Boom.
No, actually, that's good. Yes, okay. I am. I'm gonna do it after. Okay, boom. Perfect. And we're doing Steelers Bengals. Is that what's happening? Is it Steelers Bengals? Yes, Steelers Bengals for the trench talk. Okay. Before we get into trench talk, y'all know I stay rocking my team gear. Right now I have the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl tie-dye shirts. And as all 32, I definitely try to make it a point to wear all 32 teams at some point throughout the season when I'm out and about. I have 8 different teams on my nails, and I always grab my gear from Fanatics. Use my code and my link in the description box. Yesterday was code HELMET, and you can get 30% off at Fanatics. The day before that was 25 to 30% off the entire site. It doesn't have to be a shirt or a jersey. Those are kind of more expensive. I don't know what your budget's like, but they have coffee mugs, they have slippers, they have shorts, all kinds of things. So use the link in the description below and the code to get your discount. And keep an eye out for those discounts. They're always dropping every single day. Trust me, you can save a little and still look official. Coach George, I got to get you some Commanders gear. Don't worry. I got you.
Man, you can keep that. You can hold on to that.
No, I got you. Don't worry about it.
So last week's game, so you can hold on to that.
Well, keep that same energy on Sunday. Today, we are talking about Steelers Bengals for Trench Talk with Coach George. What's going on in these trenches, Coach?
You know what? This is going to be a fun game to watch, in my opinion, because of what, in my opinion, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to need to do to be competitive against what I know that the Steelers are going to be able to do. Let me explain. So as far as the Steelers are concerned, like they're playing some good football, in my opinion. And a lot of the reasons why I feel they're playing good football is because they are starting to gel up front offensively and do some things at a more consistent rate that helps Aaron Rodgers be Aaron Rodgers, right? So what that means is longer drives, more sustained drives, giving them an identity now that they can go out, protect the quarterback, run the football. The Bengals not so much. and
Yeah.
here's the deal, right? You know, Joe Flacco coming over from Cleveland. Mike Tomlinson had a quote that I thought was very interesting. And it was so interesting that I normally don't pay attention to like that kind of stuff, but for him to make mention that a team that's actually in their division would trade their number one quarterback within the division to a division rival, that says so much. It does. It says so much. You know, people wanted to give Mike flack over that, but from my perspective, I agree with him. Like I couldn't. The Bengals were the last place I thought they would have sent Flacco to. But going to the trenches, we know what Joe Flacco is, right? He's not a mobile quarterback. The Steelers have some really good front guys up front, really good guys on defense and linebacker core. Joe's going to have to move around. I don't think he can do it against the Steelers. I'm definitely taking the Steelers in this because I think they're gelling at the right time.
Yeah, so am I. And just for those who might not know what Coach George is talking about, and I spoke about it on Tuesday as well, but to quote Mike Tomlin, he said, Andrew Berry, who is the Browns GM, must be a lot smarter than me or us because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening starter to a divisional opponent that's hurting in that area. And I completely agree. This is the Icy Hot Bowl. We have Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco behind offensive lines trying to make it happen. And I also have the Steelers in this game. Anything can happen. Maybe Joe Flacco's going to revitalize this offense in a way that we see vets do often. We talked about how Jacoby Brissett came in for Kyler Murray, and sometimes it's harder to game plan for individuals who you haven't had to game plan for all year. But we already have a week on Flacco, right? Like he started it last week. So and Joe Flacco's been in the league for such a long time that in general, you sort of know what he brings to the table. So, you know, in the division, we still do leave wiggle room, but I'm going to have to go with the Steelers on this one. Moving along to Rookie Watch. So our rookie for today is left tackle for the Saints, Kelvin Banks Jr. Now, at first glance, first of all, most of his snaps are at left tackle, but he does have 2 snaps on the year at tight end, which to me is very interesting. At first glance, he looks like a bright spot on a team that hasn't been performing so hot this season. And there are certain things that I think he does super well as far as, you know, just seeing what his ratings are and just seeing the way that he's kind of like comparing to others, other rookies. If you look at a Will Campbell, if you look at, we've talked about a few of them on the show, but Coach George, what do you see from Banks this season?
Here's the most important thing. Anytime you bring in a rookie to start on the offensive line, but particularly at left tackle, you know, going back to the Giants game, you know, I thought he did a really good job of keeping guys like Abdul Carter, you know, keeping Burns out, you know, not giving up any sacks. I think he might only had 2 pressures. Well, I've been seeing him do this week in and week out. There was one week where he had a few egregious mental errors, but outside of that, I think he's been doing a stellar job. And again, I've been knowing KB forever. The whole thing about him is he's always been very consistent. Now, his coach in college at Texas, Coach Kyle Flood, is probably one of the best offensive line coaches that I've ever been around. He prepares his guys mentally, physically, and spiritually for what they're going to do every single Saturday when they're in college. He's played against SEC talent all through college. So him coming into the National Football League, I never thought that he would have an issue, and he's starting to show all of the tutelage that he's gotten from Coach Flood, playing in the SEC at a high rate, at a high level in college, just transitioning nicely into the NFL. I love what I'm seeing from KB right now.
Coach, you're talking about his offensive line coach, and my question for you is, how important And we can kind of just scale the importance depending on what level of football that we're at. But position coaches, right? Of course, head coaches and offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators get a lot of the attention and love as far as coaches are concerned. But at the NFL level, college level, maybe even high school, how important are position coaches, not just for the development of a player, but getting them to the next level?
Okay, so each level is a different level. I would say from high school to college, it's all about technique, right? And strength. Your position coach has to understand what you're getting ready to go against at the next level in order to be able to prepare you at that next level. What you're seeing right now, going back to Kelvin, is the fact that he's been able to have a coach who was a head coach in college. He's coached some of the best offensive linemen in college, understanding exactly what they need to be at the next level. When you have somebody like that, that can give you the tutelage, can give you the knowledge, can give you the terminology, can give you the technique, all those different things to be productive on a consistent level, it's a game changer. You
Yeah.
know, to show a difference, when I came from college into the NFL, one of the very first things my NFL position coach told me, everything you learned in college, forget about it. Like,
Mm.
your technique is bad. The reason why you're here is because you're a great athlete. And that was the truth. I didn't have a technical offensive line coach, although he was a great guy, really got me to where I am now in terms of understanding the game. From a technical standpoint, I wished I had more. When you have that and you transition to the next level, you have play like you're seeing from Banks right now, or like or another guy that came from a really good college program in Cesar Ruiz in Michigan. Yes, I'm giving you Wolverines a little bit of credit, but he had a
Okay.
really good offensive line coach. Now you see what Caesar's been able to do in the NFL. J.C. Latham, who's with the Tennessee Titans right now. Tyler Booker, who's with the Dallas Cowboys right now. They've all had really good college and high school coaches. So now you see him on the NFL level. It's not too new to him. It's just following suit for those guys.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I think the younger that you start with being able to marry, like you said, being a good athlete and having those techniques, the better foundation that you have moving forward. And you don't have to play catch up so much. And I think it's one of the benefits of youth sports right now is because kids are starting so early, they're having and gaining access to these techniques earlier so that as they get older, especially if they're leading with the right foundation as they get older, it's just like they're way more advanced, I think, than maybe athletes in the past were
Yeah,
because they have access to it.
yeah, and it's funny you said that, Arabia, because we've had this conversation before, especially talking about Roman. Like, here's the biggest thing: like, it can help you, but it can also hurt you.
Mhm.
Right? When I see it, the one thing that reason why we started, myself, Deion Sanders, Kevin Mathis, guys that I played with in the league, the reason why we started our youth program so long ago was because we would watch our own kids be coached in these youth programs and say, what the F are they doing?
Yeah.
And it would pain me to see some of the bad technique that they were teaching kids. Challenge with that, problem with that. Man, good habits are something that you learn, but bad habits are something that you learn too. So
Yeah.
one of the hardest things to do is to get a kid to unlearn something that he's learned, especially when you're trying to get him to be productive at the next level. That's why like you said, like you asked, the position coach is extremely important the earlier that you get
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, and I don't envy these coaches because they do have a really hard job, especially
Tough
the younger
job.
that they are.
Tough
I
job.
see firsthand how they have to manage all these different personalities on the team. And then, like I said, the younger they are, you're also managing parents. And I don't think parents understand how big of an influence sometimes they have on recruiting. Yes, they're looking at your athlete and they're judging how fast they are, how high they jump, and all that type of stuff, how strong they are. But also, they might not want to deal with the parents all season long and in meetings and all that kind of stuff. So I don't envy coaches at all. They have a really difficult job. So if you're out and they do it for free, a lot of these youth coaches, they're not getting paid. If anything, they're
True.
shelling out money like
True. True.
to coach kids and get attitude from parents. So,
True. But
you
can
know,
I take a really hard, unpopular stance though,
yeah,
if you don't mind?
talk
If
to
you're
me.
not willing to learn the necessary skills in order to be a good coach, don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
do it. I would ask you this. Either you invest in the craft because it is a craft. If you want to be a coach, invest in the craft to do it the right way, or give the kid to somebody else that will.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a lot that goes into it, like you said. Don't just do it so you can get credit for doing it, because you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching them life skills. You're teaching them a very important things on a very violent sport that they need to learn and be able to protect themselves, number one, before
Mm-hmm.
they can even begin to be productive.
Yeah, I know situations where it feels like there's no parent, there's no coach, and one of the dads like, "Ugh, okay, I'll do it." It's one of those where even to be completely transparent on my son's team, his head coach, I love his head coach. Coach Ernest is great, but he didn't go into it even wanting to be a coach. It was just like there was no coach, and the commissioner was like, "All right, go coach the kids." And he was like, "I just wanted to be a dad. I didn't want to be a coach." But he has really stepped up to the plate. Vincent Fuller, who played for the Titans for a while,
Yep,
he's also the defensive coordinator. We have a
that's
few
good.
different
That's
NFL
good.
and college level coaches who are on the staff. But I mean, shout out
That's
to all the
good.
dads who turned coaches who are just trying to make it
That's
for the
good.
kids. Well,
Get
I know
some
we went on a little
skills.
rant, but yes, get some skills, learn something, and let's get it right for the kids. Let's go to our next segment, predictions. Now I'm starting with the smoke. I'm starting with the smoke.
Okay.
I'm starting with Cowboys Commanders, or should I say Commanders Cowboys, because they are in Dallas for their first matchup of the season. And I know a lot of people who are going to Dallas for this game, not even necessarily going to the game, but just like being in that environment,
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
bars to watch the game and enjoying the
Yeah.
city of
It's an
Dallas, which,
event.
yeah,
It's
it's
an event.
definitely an event every single time. So talk to me about, especially in the trenches, of course, what's going on with Commanders Cowboys.
Listen, I'm gonna be transparent, and this isn't gonna be a moment for me.
Okay.
You know, I'm discouraged.
Mm.
I'm discouraged. What I saw against the Carolina Panthers really discouraged me.
Mm.
And it discouraged me because a young man went on national TV and said that he wanted all the smoke from the Dallas Cowboys, and he delivered.
Yeah.
And it looked like there was absolutely nothing defensively that we could do about that man running the ball down our proverbial throats for
Yeah.
4 quarters.
Yeah.
For 4 quarters. So I'm discouraged defensively because I just don't know what we are. I don't know what we are. I don't see a fix happening overnight on our defensive line and linebacker situation, right? When you have somebody, here's what people don't understand. When you're able to just line up and run the football at will, that is demoralizing,
Yeah.
not just to the defensive front, but the entire team.
Yeah.
The entire team. And I watched Carolina do that to us at ease, and it was a tough thing to watch. Now, here's the one thing I'm still encouraged about. Dak's playing really good football right now,
Yeah.
right? Our offensive line, who did not have all of our starters, I know they understand exactly what they're being asked to do. The challenge is, with no continuity, it's very hard to do it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So those things leave me a bit discouraged. I'm not, listen, we could go in there with a third string quarterback, no CD Lamb. Schottenheimer could have missed the plane, not calling the plays, and I'm still gonna pick the Cowboys,
Okay.
especially over the Commanders. I'm
Okay.
just not going. I'm just not. I can't do it. That
Okay.
being said, realistically, you guys lost a tough one last week too.
Yeah.
The question is, which team is going to be able to put in the background, their loss from last week and come out and play sound football. That being said, I got to go with my Cowboys because my love is there, but I'm going to be watching the game, holding on for dear life, play after play.
I'm happy that Rico Dowdle had the game that he did. Not just because I always like to see players sticking it to the Cowboys, but because even like when Tony Pollard left, right? Which was kind of like interesting to me because he had like back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and he seemed like a solid running back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
then Tony Pollard departs, but even when Tony Pollard was still there, Rico Dowdle was like a good two.
yep.
And then so Rico Dowdle then becomes the guy who has to step up. And I thought had a good season.
He
And then
did.
Dowdle leaves, and I'm like, well, what's going on in the running back room? Because then at that point, remember Zeke came back. Zeke came back, and then I guess wasn't what it
He
needed
just
to
wasn't
be.
Zeke anymore. He wasn't
He always
Zeke.
wasn't Zeke anymore, right? So that was what it was. But after seeing Tony and then Rico, and then I'm like, well, I'm sure, it wasn't just the right situation for one or both parties. But I'm happy that he had the game that he did. With that being said, when it comes to our defensive line, we're just so up and down. I think we are missing a guy like Dietrich Wise, who was injured earlier on in the season, who I think was at that time our best pass rush. We do still have Dorrance Armstrong, who's there. He makes noise sometimes, but we don't have that consistent
Yeah.
person to apply pressure. The interior, Payne is there. We see Payne making plays sometimes. Johnny Newton also is someone who will, make a play or two during the game. But it's kind of volatile right now for our defensive line. And for our offensive line, man, Babyface, who is Josh Connerly Jr., he's struggling right now. And he's a rookie, and I think he has a lot to learn, whatever. But man, he's struggling. And that is our offensive line is Laramie Tunsil is holding it down. He's for sure doing what he needs to do.
That's the thing. That's the thing, man. I think, like you said, you're rookie. I think the game is just a little too fast for him right now.
Yeah, it is.
Unfortunately, it's a little too fast for him right now. But here's the deal: it's not going to slow down. It's not going to slow down. So whether he needs to get in his playbook, go sit with some vets a little while longer, he's going to have to figure that out. But here's the deal: we always know this when the Commanders play the Cowboys. It's always one of those games where anybody can win, but it's going to be dictated on what either we or you guys can or can't do up front. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And I feel like our offensive line isn't moving, isn't displacing individuals. The line of scrimmage stays exactly where it is when that ball is snapped. And because Bill, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, it has such great vision, and he sheds arm tackles, and he's kind of like a one-cut running back, he himself is able to make plays. But man, if we had the opportunity as an offensive line to create opportunities for him, I would feel more confident. So seeing what Rico Dowdle did was great, but I'm not sure if we're going to give Bill the same opportunity. So this game really could go either way, but because you're going Cowboys, I got to go Commanders.
Okay.
But we can't shoot ourselves in the foot, and we just, I don't feel confident about it, but I will stand behind my team.
Yes. That's really interesting that at this point in the season, you don't feel good about yours, and I don't feel good about mine, but we still got to go fight.
Still got to go fight. Still got to line it up. It is what it is. Our next game is Giants Broncos. Two defenses that have the potential to be like one of the best in the NFL. The potential. I don't think we've seen the Giants really reach that this season, to be very honest. But I gotta go Denver on this one because I feel like Jackson Dart is a rookie, and even though him and Scadaboo are really clicking right now, rookie quarterbacks do tend to sort of have some up and down. There are exceptions. Like we saw Jaden Daniels be pretty consistent last year. But I see Bo Nix in his second year with that offense clicking, and then the defense just helps him out by holding their opponents and giving him a chance and getting their quarterback back on the field. So I got to go with the Broncos in this game. What do you think?
You know what? I'm with you on that, believe it or not. I love what I'm seeing from Denver. Denver is one of these teams, even coming in the season, where I felt like I just don't know what they are. I don't know what they are. Defensively, I look at them and I say they got some stars, they got some guys that can really get after it. But at the same time, I just didn't know what they were. But watching them week in and week out, I think they probably play one of the best group defenses that I've seen out of most teams across the league, right?
Yeah.
You couple that with me still trying to figure out who the Giants are, and the Giants trying to do the same thing, particularly on offense. Now, are they getting some good play from their young quarterback? Yes. Is Scadaboo going to be one of those players or looking like one of those players? Yes. But offensively up front, I still think that's somewhere where they're still developing. And them going up against Denver, who has some confidence, who understands what their identity is, particularly on defense, I got to go with Denver in this one.
Yeah, and I think like between the Broncos secondary and defensive line, they're just going to create a lot of problems for Jackson Dart. And either they're going to create pressure with four, by the way.
With four.
Create pressure for Jackson Dart, and let the secondary feast if he decides to put the ball in harm's way, or when he does that, put the ball in harm's way. Now the defense has more time to get home because he's holding on to the ball, or he feels like he has to scramble. So it's a real give and take, a push and pull with his defensive line and secondary. And like you said, group football with the Broncos is amazing. So I got to go Denver on that one. We agree. And then the last one is Panthers Jets. Now I know this isn't America's game of the week. And I know unless you're a Jets fan or a Panthers fan, you're probably not checking for this game at all. But it's all 32, right? Like
it's all 32. They're part of the 32. They're part of the
32. Yes. As much as we don't want the Cowboys to be part of it, we still got to talk about them too. So we got to talk about the Cowboys. We got to talk about the Panthers and the Jets. Panthers. We've seen the Panthers upset already this season. Not just the Cowboys, but we saw them blow out the Falcons. And the Falcons are a good team. Yes, it was in their division. We leave wiggle room. But, man, will the Jets get their first win against the Panthers? Like, here's my thing. Do I see the Jets going 0-17? No, I don't. I think they'll get a win. Will that win come against the Panthers? Maybe. Looking at their schedule, the Panthers could be the team that they end up getting a win over. What do you think?
Look, this is the week where you have to say and believe any given Sunday. Mm-hmm. Like, and here's why I say that is because as well as Carolina did against the Cowboys last week, my question is, can they come out and be consistent enough to do it again against a Jets team that's really struggling, right? Can they come out and do that? I don't know. Who knows, right? Then you got to also factor in the Jets run the risk of losing another game, and this will be what, 0-6 for them?
7. Right?
Nobody.
Or are they 0-6? They might be 0-5.
Is it 0? What are they? 0-6?
They're either 0-6. They're either 0-5 or 0-6 now. But either way,
it don't even matter. It don't even matter. They run the risk of being 0-something, right? The last thing you want to do. Listen, I played on a team years ago, and we went 3-13. When you're losing this much, you are doing everything you could possibly do not to lose again, especially if you're a consummate pro. So with that being said, who knows who's going to show up? They don't even have, in my opinion, enough of an identity, Jets being, to be able to say, as long as we go into the game and we do this, we should be fine. They're still looking for answers.
Yeah.
They're looking for answers. Offensively, defensively, special teams-wise, when you start looking at units, they don't necessarily know who their starting five are on offense, offensive line. Defensively, they've got some holes, right? Whereas you look at the Carolina Panthers, listen, they've had some success. Yeah. They've had some success. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Carolina, but it would not surprise me if the Jets pulled together because I understand what a losing locker room feels like, especially when you don't want to be a losing locker room and you have the type of head coach they have. I'm still going to go with Carolina, but I look for the Jets to give up a really good fight.
The team where you were 3-13, were you a player or a coach?
I was a player.
Oh, what team was it?
Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
1998.
Okay, cool. No problem.
Let's not talk about it anymore.
No, we won't. No problem. So we've seen Brian Callahan fired. Mike McCoy is the interim head coach, who is a senior offensive assistant. I've talked about how Mike McDaniel is on the hot seat, and I think it's time for him to go. What's Aaron Glenn's deal? Well, if he loses this game in week 7, is he on the hot seat, or does he get grace because he's a first-time head coach? He's kind of inherited some of the problems that the Jets have had. And because the Jets are generationally bad, are there things happening in the organization that can't be scapegoated to Aaron Glenn? Like, what's his job security like this season?
You know what? It's New York. Mm-hmm. It's New York. And it really depends on how the back page, Daily News, how all that gets played out, right, in New York. And unfortunately, Aaron Glenn is not a New Yorker, if that makes any sense. And I just don't know. You would have to think, though, having that many losses, being a first-time head coach or not, everybody's going to be looking to see how he handles it, how he's handling it now. Can
Yeah.
they make a change that will make a significant difference going forward? Who knows? Hot seat, absolutely. Every NFL coach is always on the hot seat unless they just won a Super Bowl. Every team has proven, other than the Pittsburgh Steelers, that they are willing to make changes when they feel like a change is being made. So with that being said, the hot seat always exists, and it would be unfortunate because I do think he's going to be one of the really good coaches. He just needs a full season, the right staff, and the right players to put it together. But all 31 coaches need that same thing. So hot seat, absolutely. What'll come out of that? We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I hope they give him a chance. I really do. I feel like Black people in the NFL in positions of leadership are really starting to see more and more traction, getting more footing, not just at the quarterback position, head coaches, and hopefully just climbing that ladder even more. So get a Black man a chance.
Let me say this, Arabia. Here's the biggest thing, right? I just thought about this. It's really going to depend on how the locker room is still responding to his leadership or not, right? If they're still responding to his leadership, that's one thing. If they're not, that's a completely different thing. Right. So, but me understanding that he understands the landscape of being in the NFL, even having played as a Jet, he understands exactly what the expectations are, what it's been, and what needs to be done to be able to keep those guys hungry and moving forward. So metrically, I would love to see whether they're getting better at certain things, in terms of statistically and things of that nature. If they're trending in the right direction, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I do too. I'm hoping they really give him a chance. Let's go to our last segment, College Corner. Coach, the Buffs are on a bye week. Talk to me about what you guys do on a bye. What do you have planned for this week since you don't have a game?
Yeah. So fortunately, we're coming off of a really big win against Iowa State last week.
Congratulations.
So going
we
into
love
the
to see
bye,
that.
thank you very much. Going into the bye always makes it feel, a little bit better. We still got a hole that we got to climb out of, and we all feel offensively, defensively, and special teams wise, we know exactly what we need to do. But right now, we need to give our guys the opportunity to reset, and that's what the bye week is for. Resetting a little bit, but digging deeper into our next opponent, which is going to be Utah. So we're giving our guys a couple days off, get their bodies right, give them a chance to go visit, mom and dad and whomever else is significant to them, come back to Boulder and get right back to it.
I love it. Well, hopefully they do get the rest that they need, can come back refreshed and ready for Utah. We will be rooting for you guys. We'll be rooting for the Colorado Buffaloes when they come back. And remember, Georgia Bulldogs also play. So we're going to be rooting for Champ and the Bulldogs as well. That's all the time that we had. Now, before I go, Cowboys fans, don't flood my DMs, okay? Whatever happens, if you wasn't talking shit all week, leave my DMs alone, okay?
No. Don't start begging now. Don't start begging now. Don't start begging now. First of all, let me reiterate what she meant to say. First of all, jump on her for not being a major part of the culture. Let's do that first, right? Give her movie suggestions that she needs to go see. Let me ask you this question. One question. Okay. Have you seen the movie Life?
Yes, I have.
Are you sure?
Life. I'm 100% sure that I've seen Life.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, I'm not going to go there with you.
Yeah.
Look, people in the chat, make movie suggestions to her. Tell her what she
Let me tell
see.
you, I've seen Life. I've seen Love and Basketball. I've seen Friday, all the Fridays.
Okay. All right. See, that's how you're able to get by. I just realized it. You got you got three of the cornerstones, but you don't necessarily got the other chapters that you really need. So you can pull on Life a little bit, pull on Love and Basketball a little bit, then pull on Friday a little bit. But the second we start talking about belly memes and juice memes and Menace to Society memes, you lost in the sauce. So
unless I've seen it online.
Jump in her chat and make movie suggestions about that. And secondly, most importantly, all the Cowboys fans, jump on her now, early. And look, she's tough. She's real tough, so don't take it easy on her.
I'm blocking. That block button is being used. If I block
See
you,
that? See.
that's because you listen
So
to Coach
you ain't a
George.
real one. You're not.
That's
You
fine.
a
I'm
real
fake
one.
as fuck.
You
I'm
listen.
fake.
You a real one, but you don't do real things all the time, boy. You try to block folks. You
Block.
blocking folks, man. Cut that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, block. That's okay. You might end up on a block list listening to Coach George, but that's okay. We'll circle back next week and see how everything turned out. That's all the time that we have. Remember to use the Fanatics link below in the code if you want discounts on gear, whatever your team is. If you never got a second team, get gear for your second team as well. We will see you next week. Enjoy the games and be safe.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.